Hey everyone, thank you for joining me here on a little live stream episode of Tejano Keyboard. I want to thank all of you guys for continuing to follow the site and the videos, and to all my private students, I thank you so much. I know the videos have kind of spaced out again a little bit. Life sometimes gets busy. I know I really don't put much of my personal life out there. Many of you don't even really know what my name is, which is Rolando. And but for those of you who are my close friends that follow the page, a lot of you know that I'm a first-time dad, and it's just been a wonderful experience. Uh, you know, I do music for a living. That's all I do. So I still have clients and students and all that other stuff, but I can't neglect this channel either. So I wanted to talk about some theory stuff. I think stuff that will help in your playing, and if anything, it'll help with naming things, like what exactly things are. I want to send a shout out going out to Rudy, who is in right now joining us live. Thank you, Rudy, for joining us. Good morning. Okay, so today I want to talk about a question that one of my students had. His name's Mike. So Mike, this one's for you. Okay, and I did a tutorial. I forgot what song it was, and the question was in regards to 13 flat 9. I had told him that was the name of the chord, and he goes, "Are you sure that's a 13 flat 9?" I'm like, "Well, I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is." He goes, "Well, to me," he goes, "it sounds like a diminished." And I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, actually, those two things can be um, confused at times for the same thing, because they have the same voicings in them. Okay, so let's talk about. I'm gonna flip this around. I'm just gonna kind of do this, kind of like. There we go. Okay, hopefully I can get the whole. That's actually just enough. I'm gonna turn this that way a little bit. There we go. Okay, so this isn't the exact chord in question, but we're gonna just use it for the example. So the question was, is it a diminished or is it 13 flat 9? Okay, so let's take C 13th to begin with. Okay, and in this voicing we're gonna have here. Let's see. Let's play it like this. Okay, and what we're going to have is 1 5 flat 7 9. There's a major third, and then the 13. Okay, now let's pause for a second and let's talk about how to make a diminished chord. Okay, so diminished chord can be thought of a couple different ways, one of which is to have like, let's just take G for example. Okay, first you make it minor by lowering the third, and then you lower the fifth to make it diminished. Okay, the other way to think of it is two stacked minor thirds. Okay, so if you go, there's the flat third, and if you go, okay, so if you were to make it a fully diminished seventh chord, because you could do a half diminished would be that, but a fully diminished chord would be that. So you'd have G, B flat, D flat, and E. Okay, so this would be right, and then you go, and then you go. So there's 3 stacked minor thirds. Okay. Now let's go back to this. This is that C 13th that we were talking about. Okay. Sorry, that's the C 13th we were talking about. Okay. Now what we're going to do then is flatten the 9, because that was the chord that we were talking about. It was a 13 flat 9. Okay. Now if I take out the extremes of the chord, right? If I take out the high note and the low note, we have a diminished chord. Okay, how does that work? Okay, well, in the case of C, the 5th and the flat 7th are actually, they're actually a minor third apart, Okay, now between the 7th and the flat 9, there's another minor third, which is a diminished chord right there, and then the following one, which in the key of C would be the actual major third, is actually in relationship to the G. It's the double flatted 7th, which makes it a fully diminished chord. So the voicing is the same, but it's different because if it was like in the context of 2-5-1 in F, if we were to go G first, G minor, and then we were to play, and then back to 1, okay? The bass notes are G, and then C, and then F. Now, this and this is not a C chord. I'm sorry, it's not a diminished chord. It's a dominant chord, right? And a flattened 9. Okay? If we were to play it in G, then it would be a minor chord. So, and I apologize that because I did it this way that you can't really see. I'm hitting a G in the bass. Let's see if I turn the camera a little bit. There you are. But then let's bring it back over here because really we're concentrating on the harmony, right? So if that were the case, then you could do that. So if we were to play like a 2-5-1 to C, that would technically be a G diminished, a G7 fully diminished, okay? But that's not what the case was. The case was that, and a C in the bass, not a G. So the C makes it, not, I mean, and you won't always play a chord with the root being, the key of the chord. Because sometimes if you do an inversion, like you could do I'm trying to think here of what, like if we were to do like a E in the bass, so if I were to take out this E here and play something like with an E in the bass, that's still kind of the same sound, but it's a little bit different. So hopefully that helps out with some of the I mean, if it's easy for you to call that a diminished chord, then I understand, because I mean it's the same sound, but the bass note really, or the root note of the chord really can change the name of what it really is. And I mean, the names aren't really that important as long as it sounds good, right? But in case somebody tells you, hey, play a dominant flat 9 or a 13 flat 9, at least you know that there's going to be a diminished in there somewhere. And obviously this applies across all keys. And let's see here. So I hope that answered that question, and thank you to Mike for bringing that up. If any of you guys have questions like that in regards to theory and why we call things a certain way, or what to call a certain chord, be sure to just send me a message, and when I get a chance I'll try to make these videos, even though this one was kind of brief. Looks under 8 minutes. Wow, I guess I didn't realize how quickly time went, but I mean under 9 minutes. But thank you always for watching the videos and liking and subscribing, and I hope that this information helps you enrich your playing, and thanks again. Okay.